Hello, it's Miska and this is Miska's Maps RPG Cartography. Today I'm gonna color and add some details for a sci-fi Cantina map which I draw a while back and scanned the line art, and now it's time to make it final. So here's the scanned map, and I've already cleaned up the lines, and next up I'll start adding some color. So let's get to it. Alright. First, I'll make some kind of like color base. I'll add just background, and this is to, well, first of all, add some kind of like a base tone, like so, a bit darker than white, and then I'll start adding some color there, like I'll try to add basically the basic color or the light sources, like places which are darker and more lighter, and also select like a basic tone, color tone for the picture. I was at first thinking about something like in Star Wars, the Mos Eisley Cantina, like a desert tones and that sort of stuff, but I'm kinda backing up from that plan, and instead I've been thinking of using some kind of like a more bluish, maybe a bit greenish colors, something that could be used inside like an asteroid space station or like a rainy cyberpunk city as well. So let's pick a color. So something between blue and green. Something like that. Slightly more greenish. There we go. Okay. And then we select the brush. And we now want a brush with some texture. There's like a Kyle's Real Watercolor. These Kyle's brushes, they are free to download for Photoshop from Adobe website. It's like there's a huge lot of different brushes, and you get like a really far with those. The picture size is based on 300 dpi grid, which can be easily resized to fit better for the virtual tabletops, for example. Alright, and we can see here that we have opacity of 100 and flow 28, and let's make it a bit bigger. This might slow down the process a bit, but let's not get bothered by that. Okay, just like adding some color here. this tone, we want the edges to be a bit darker because there isn't much details. Like that. And now we can have a bit smaller brush, around 400 or so, and now we can start adding some color detail or tones here on the walls, other places that might be a bit darker than usual. Okay, yep, that's better. That's better. And now we have like a quite monochromatic tones here. That's fine. But to add a bit more texture, we want to have a bit like variation there, so we enable the color dynamics and see that there's the brightness slider and saturation and hue. It's like a, we don't want the, well, maybe there's a 445, that's good for now. And then we'll add like a just some additional quick brush strokes here and there to give it a bit more like a character. So we want that there isn't like all the color is not just like that, like even. We want it to have some texture and variation there, here and there, a little bit like light strokes also in the lighter areas, very light strokes. Here we go. Leave a few more light spots here and there. We'll get back to that in a bit. Right. And next we'll change the color a bit, and as mentioned, like a greenish hue. So let's pick a bit more greener color and add a few more brush strokes here and there, just like a blotches of color, just like a add a bit more texture there. Okay, good. And then we'll move to a bit lighter tones. We'll try to create some contrast between the light and dark. So if we are using like green and blue tones, let's pick something from the red and orange range, or yellow and orange range. So let's make it a bit yellowish, or maybe like an orange. And same thing, we'll add like a few little blotches here and there, and again like create these lighter spots, like where we imagine to be some light, more or less. There might be some, there might be some. That's necessarily not so light behind the counter, but around it, the tables maybe, especially the stage, there, here, okay, toilets have some light there, adding some layers to create an impression of like different light sources or ambient light here and there. Create a bit atmosphere. Then let's make it a bit more lighter. Make the brush smaller, maybe half size of what it was, and add even more these lighter spots here and there. Don't add too much over the walls, but don't worry too much. Even if they do, it might actually work out for you, like depending on what kind of light you are looking for. Like, do you want to have more light or less light? Okay, now we have like a quite warm light colors here. We might want to add some, because this is like a high-tech environment, or at least like a modern technology level, so we might want to add some extra color tones, like a very light blue, more like resembling artificial light, and that we add here where we have something that might be some sort of screens, perhaps. There might be something, and there might be something. The stage might have some extra lights here and there, yeah, like that. There, these weird distillery machines have some, and toilets might have like a colder lights. Alright, now we have the base tones there. Next we'll start adding the actual colors. So this was just the base. So first we have here a layer called street, which means, well, street. So we want it to be like a dark gray or grayish, and now we change the brush also to something more precise. The one we used had like a very blur and like uneven edges, and what should we have? I have a few favorite brushes that I use mostly, but sometimes I want to experiment a bit and try different brushes. Okay, this seems quite fine. And now we right away turn on the color dynamics to we'll add the color dynamics on so that we can have like already some uneven texture there. And again, don't worry if it goes over the walls, because we are gonna take care of those in a bit. Now we'll just add some texture there, make it look like more natural, like it has like somehow uneven surface. Okay, and now we'll pick the blending or smudge tool, a bigger brush, maybe 400, and give it like a light strokes to blend in the edges of different like color patches. Just very light, like tapping and short strokes to just blend in the color tones. And now we can, once we have done this, we can actually, know that we had like the base light tones there, we can do in Photoshop, it's very convenient that we can actually like either adjust the opacity of the layers above, which is sometimes a very good option, but then we can also take this like actually that's not texture, we can call it like tones, and we can use the blending modes to affect the color. For example, we can use like a soft light, or usually use multiply, but as this has like both light and dark, we might want to use something else, and this will affect all the colors. So we might want to do so that we take the multiply, but we put the opacity to around 50. Yeah. Can of course, like always, change the layer order later. I'm just thinking that should I actually have this only for the, no, I'll have it, I'll have it there, but I was thinking that should I actually have, maybe I choose the different blending mode. So just a sort of a test actually. Hard light, linear. Hard light is actually quite okay. Stick to the multiply mode, or actually I think that that's better after all. It's a bit dark there. Well, yeah. Well, then we could just drop the opacity a bit, so we can have there. Now, how do let's back up a bit. I'll make a duplicate of this layer so I have sort of like a backup, and then I'll use this one like that, and I'll make it into a completely black and white layer. So this is just the basic light and tone. We'll add the color later, and this is to, I started experimenting all of a sudden, like I didn't mean to do this, but well, sometimes it's like that, like you get an idea and you want to test it right away. It might change your plans a bit, take a bit more time, but in the end the results might be like very much worth the trouble. Okay. Alright. Okay, now we are getting there. So we have now like a lightness, or the light layer, and a separate color tone layer. Okay. Next up. Then the floor. And for the floor we want if the walls are gonna be a bit dark, then we want somewhat light floor. But then again, like a light bar floor, that doesn't seem something that you actually would have, so let's pick something from between. To follow the bluish tones, we'll take like a light gray bluish color. Actually, it might look better if it was like a bit green. Yeah, we'll take that. Alright, then we have the floor layer here selected. A bit smaller brush, a bit more than 200. Again, like, don't worry if it goes over the walls. Okay, now I got an idea that we are now here coloring the staff area, so we might have different colored floors for different spaces, and the boss man might have a bit like a more brownish floor, like so. Then there's the service tunnel. It might have a bit more like a grayish tone to the floor. Here, like a faded color. Some smudge tool there. Okay. Back to the brush, and then the actual like a bar side. And what if that would be actually more like if it was red, it kind of like pops out maybe a bit too much, but maybe a bit more to like dark orange, or like orange side, not so saturated like that, less saturated like so. Well, yeah, that might be okay. Okay, and we have the color dynamics on, so we need to remember to blend it in a bit. Again, don't worry about the walls at this point. We're gonna clean that up in a bit. I often like to add some kind of like a tile texture for the floors, but let's see. Might be that this works out just fine without any, and all kind of like a tile texture and that sort of stuff. It also might get in the way if you want to have a grid. It all depends a bit, like what's the intended use for the map or so. Okay, let's color over the counter too. We don't need that sort of details right now, but let's leave the stage there. We want to add some kind of like highlight color for the stage as well as the toilets. We'll pick something like that, a bit like mid-tone. Feels more sterile. Sure, we could go even lighter. Have it look more like enamel. That's the word, right? Okay. Yes. We are getting there. Let's add the same enamel, the light color there, and the staff toilets. All right, and now the stage. The stage shall be a bit darker than everything else, like that. At least in the bars that I've worked or visited, usually the stage is quite dark. It isn't light. Actually, I want to make it into its own layer. So let's back up a bit. Come on. Oh yeah. Huh? We'll add stage. So, okay, this is just to avoid any like color blending. If we wanna blend just the colors here for the stage and the floor, so you don't have to worry that the colors blend too much. Some detail there, texture again, like just tap it. So the color dynamics will do the work for you. Then we need to clean up a bit the lines here, or the color edges, okay? And now we can, like so. And now we'll select everything here and invert the selection, and now we can safely like blend the colors and they don't go over the stage edges like that. Maybe, okay, that's good. Then this one, like light strokes to blend in the color. Let's wait a bit. Okay. As you can see, there already like a starts to be. You can see that there is this. The surfaces are not so even. Even so that it looks like too much. It had like a brush strokes all over. Or on the other hand, you don't have to be like too careful when applying the color. Okay, now it's lagging. Yeah, this is the thing with very big files like this one. Now might get a bit slow from time to time. It's more like quick strokes here and there. And now that we have these like colors blend in here, the tool even keeps it a bit character. It doesn't look so. Well, anyway, yeah. All right. The more I get like focused on the drawing and details, the less I can speak without concentrating on it. Okay, yes. This is starting to look nice, very nice. Alright, and again, this was like, these are the base textures that we are still applying here. And already we have like a sense of different spaces and areas. Nice. Okay. Okay. And now we could actually do the balls. But before that, let's add a few extra lines, some detail lines. For that we need black color there, and a brush that's like fairly accurate. Actually I like this better, but let's look at 10 pixels. And let's give it a few like test strokes. Yeah, that looks quite fine. Now I'll actually make a new window with this same and put it on another screen for myself. And now I have a reference picture where I can see the whole picture at once. Because now we are going into details and we need to zoom in a bit, and always not just a bit but quite a lot. And now we are on detail lines layer, and we'll start adding some details here. Let's make these like windows. Okay. One here. And to make them look more like windows, we'll actually add their oops, a window. Let's okay. Start. Oops. Not too wide or thick, I'd say. Yeah, let's make them like very straight. Yeah. Step out a bit from the rest of the stuff here. We'll add the colors later for those. Here, there's actually a door missing. We'll add one like so. Alright. Here we have toilet stuff, and we could add like drinks on the table. Here's something, I don't know what. Something anyways, there might be like some books or something. Top of the table. A keyboard. We are now assuming that we live still in an age with keyboards. Of course, some papers. Paperwork is always present in offices. Maybe a pen. I don't know what this is, but let's make it look a bit more interesting. Oh, it became some kind of closet or cupboard. Let's add another one there. Alright. Yeah. And that has something on top of it. Maybe some like trophies, whatever. Here we add a few like extra lines for the sofa to make it look more like cushy. I don't know if that's the word, but let's go with that. Some stuff lying around. Maybe we want what's it? Piece of art on the wall. Okay, then we have boxes here. We add some details for those two. These are like barrels of some kind. So we need to have the some car like caps and stuff. We'll add some cards, maybe a cup of something, a bottle. These are lockers, they need like handles. So do these. Like that. Then here again, like more boxes. Maybe something different than just like cardboard boxes. Okay. There's a cardboard box and a cardboard box. And another one. Then something else. And something else. Okay, this is always fun to draw these little details. Now like things are starting to look like something. Actually. These are some kind of chemical barrels, I guess. Having some kind of handles there. And this is something, I don't know, maybe like bottle or snack boxes, something. Depends on what kind of place this is and who are the usual patrons. Are they some kind of alien creatures or just like your regular cyberpunks? I made this after all into a table. I don't know why, but it's a table now. This could be a box. Okay. Yeah, more barrels. used to work in a bar, there was always like a huge piles of these barrels of different drinks. Might be just a shelf full of stuff, like all kind of consumables that you need to run a bar or a sci-fi cantina. Okay, maybe there's some litter lying around. Look at some stuff. It's not always so clean in these sort of places. Whatever plastic forks there might be. Pieces of paper and other dirt. Same goes with this toilet here. Oh, they are messy. Damn, the cyberpunks. Always like leaving a big mess behind. Well, such is life. We don't always have time to clean up everything. This can be even a bit more dirty. Maybe add some cracks on the floor. The concrete has started to crack a bit in certain places. Maybe it's old. Who knows? Okay. Then the gambling tables. Is that like a small, some kind of like a slots or spots for each player? For their like their chips, for example, and some kind of like a console for the dealer, maybe something just for looks. Here, maybe like some drinks or something on the table, even like a cigarette ash tray. Again, it's up to like what kind of world this map belongs to. Then some kind of jukebox or whatever this might be. Could be a jukebox, could be a virtual reality thingy, could be a vending machine, something interesting anyway, for certain. Again, some shards of glass, other dirt and debris here and there. Details for the sofa again. Like so. Okay. Looking better already. All right. Here I thought that this could be something like the video phone out of Blade Runner. Okay. Toilet a bit messy again. People leaving like pieces of toilet paper lying on the floor. Oh no, we are assuming that people are still using paper was like it's years ago, but I visited once Tokyo, and there was these like public toilets, and one of them had like a paper ran out, and there was like a socks lying on the ground, which were used as an emergency replacement. That was kind of disgusting, but well, also very understandable. What would you do if you notice that you have run out of paper and you are in dire need of some? You can't blame for doing that. I don't know what these are. They are something very important, I'm sure. Just to add some kind of little texture there on the floor. Make it look interesting somehow. Alright, moving on to the main lobby, main area. What is this? Some drinks, empty glasses there, here, there. Here we wanna have a look at some kind of. This is where they pour the drinks. This is a machine that makes the drinks. Add some rivets there. Who knows what it does? Space booze or something. I don't know. You decide what your sci-fi cantina needs. Maybe it's like a space elf wine, space dwarf ale, and Finnish Koskenkorva. Some kind of signs or patches. Okay. Some drinks on the counter also. Bartender hasn't been too busy. And the gas register maybe. Or some kind of like a screen or device there. Okay. Now we have a bar counter there. Now that needs some kind of screen too. Alright. There's a wire down there. Ooh. Okay, great. We have here, let's put here like a huge screen. Now we add some details around the stage. Maybe someone has thrown something on the stage there. Make it more dirty. I don't want to put any instruments there. Actually, the microphone is too much in my opinion, so let's get rid of it. So easy. A bit too easy sometimes. That's kind of why I like drawing the lines with ink pens just on paper, because I tend to maybe like get stuck on like doing everything like too much detailed if I have the chance for it. So I kind of like making things a bit rougher in a sense. There's a certain freedom to it. This place they haven't cleaned up in a bit, I'd say. It's just got a spare storage. Okay, here. Menus or who knows. Okay, you're having the details in there. Starts to look much better. Well, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Right. All right. Yes, that's it. I'm thinking if I should add some kind of details for the walls. It might be a good idea. Well, then it's not a good idea. But let's add the texture or the wall color first. Then it's also a bit easier to decide. And now we'll save some trouble by adding lines continuing these lines here. So it closes the image in a sense, and we can actually merge those down. Select this area here. Oh, what's there? I don't know, but I'm gonna something. Thinking, yeah. That and here too. I'm making a big selection here. Oh no. Just run the selection by following the wall lines. Put it try to hit the line. It's not so precise. The line is thick enough to cover the maybe a bit uneven edges of the selection. Oh no. Let's see if we have to fix that. Snip. No, it's nicely selected. And along the lines here and here. You could of course select these with the magic wand, but you can also do it like this. Maybe spare some trouble from like uneven edges or something like that. There. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. And we're ready in a bit, like that. Okay. That's covered. That's covered. Okay, there's a few lines that we want to catch. Like that. There's something. There's something. Let's go through these. I want that to. Okay. And then the last thing to cover it a bit more is to select, modify, expand, and usually well, this is so big that we might need the 5 pixels. Yeah, okay, looking good. Now on the other hand, it might get here like a bit over the edges or so. We don't worry about that right now. And now we select the wall color layer, and then we'll pick something a bit dark, like a bluish tone. Maybe a bit more like desaturated and gray. Can always adjust the color later. Now we just want to fill this area with the foreground color. Boom. Now we have like walls. There we go. Oh, nice. Okay, doesn't look that bad at all. And here we can adjust if we want to add some darkness or lightness, and make some adjustments here. And now if we wanna play with these tones, we can always use blur here and make it like that. That's actually better, I think, because now it creates more this what's it, ambient light that's been I lost the word, if it reflects from diffused light. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, it looks more diffused that way. And now we just tone down this layer. Okay, and now we have the colors there. All right, and now for this wall layer, we can add some effects to give it a bit more, for example, like a depth, like that. Maybe soften it a bit because the lines are not so clean, so we might wanna make it look softer. Smooth looks better for this one, and we wanna have that to like maximum. Okay. Right, now we have already a bit more this kind of like a 3D effect there. Then we can add inner glow. We add some lighter color there. This creates a bit same effect. Oftentimes it's actually better to have not necessarily both, but either one or the other. Okay. This is always a bit like a matter of trial and error. I have some templates for certain maps, but oftentimes it's more about like how everything fits together. For example, we can just try it without the bevel and emboss, and it actually looks better with this map without the bevel, I'd say, because it pops out a bit too much with that effect. So we'll use this one, and now we'll make a small thing. We'll find something. We can use for the background. We want concrete texture. Tiles, concrete plates. We want just like a plain concrete. Alright, we have, oh, where did it go? Excuse me. Let's add it again. Something happened. What? Probably wrong screen or something. Okay. Please stop acting weird, dear. Okay, probably wrong screen. What? Okay, now we're talking. Just like cover the whole image, then create clipping mask, snip. And suddenly we have this like a concrete texture all over the place. Now, of course, we don't want to have it just like that, so we'll choose a bit different options. Let's go with the normal, but get a bit more transparent, just so that it gives a bit more texture there. That's one way to do it, like a really quick and dirty. But I'll show you another way. Like we can hide that, take another layer, then choose some kind of like brush that makes like a very uneven surface. These are some kind of special. These are watercolors that doesn't quite fit. And there's concept brushes from Kyle. These are actually something that I could use. There's cork bubbles, cubist, dragon scale, wood, granite gloss. I'm not sure if that's what I'm looking for. Then there's like a manga lines, whatever that is. Let's give it a try. Oh well, that's weird. Not like your everyday cross hatching. Okay, that was kind of a joke. Well, that's always one option. But here's something that I've used before. It's a texture called Mordor. Very fitting. But let's see, was there? Yeah, I think that's good. There's also a theme that's pretty good. But we'll use this one. And so like a big brush. Make sure that you have the brush and color dynamics on. Then some proper color that you're happy with. Then just loosely apply it on the loosely apply it on the layer. Maybe add some more color so it's easier to see the difference, like that. Yeah, so the point being that you can always like, take a ready texture image and add it on top. Use the clipping mask. But then you can, of course, always like just use some proper or like brushes that fit the purpose and make the texture of your own. For example, in this case, I feel that this looks much better than the previous one. And now we are starting to notice sort of a problem that we have this the street or asphalt here, and the thing is that the color difference isn't too great. It's starting to look like the walls and the street kind of like a blend in together, maybe a bit too much. So what can we do? We can always like adjust the colors a bit. One way to do it is to add an adjustment layer. Let's do that. Just to like see how it's done. And we'll add hue saturation, and we'll add some lightness there. And all of a sudden, you can see that we have like a lighter outside. Or then we might have darker outside. This adjustment layer, it affects all layers below it, so as we can see, it also affects the base color or the tone layer that we had there at the bottom. But I feel that I want to have the outside a bit lighter. Then maybe adjust the tone a bit so it looks a bit more like a brownish, or has more like yellow and other tones, so it stands out from the walls better, like so. All right, looks better. And then we had the additional layer for the street, and we make it into a multiply layer, or we make it into something else. That actually looks quite fine. Then we just adjust a bit the transparency. Anyways, the outside is now lacking all the detail, but we'll leave it like that. That's quite radical. Okay. I don't know. I don't care. We'll leave it like that. Okay. Merge it down actually. Alright. There's our street. Yeah, we don't want to bother ourselves too much with that. With all the details related to it. What there might be. And so on. I noticed that we don't even have a grid here. I'm thinking that maybe we should add one. Or maybe we add it later. As mentioned before, it might get in the way when placing your own grid. But anyways, that's usually one of the alternative versions that I make for my maps. Anyways, alright. What's this? It was multiply. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, it's some extra there. Use multiply. Oh, it's a pretty strong effect. But actually makes the street also pop out better. Maybe we'll keep it that way. lighter, and we'll make the street a much darker place to be. Like that. Let's lose the hue and saturation thing. And for this, we want to do actually the same thing as for the outside, that we add the blur filter. Okay, cool. So now we have the textures actually on the color surfaces, not on these tone layers. Yeah, I think that if we would move this here, how it would affect the whole thing. Create a clipping mask. Actually works quite well there, I have to admit. Especially if we add some. Yeah, we can go with this. Quite nice. Yeah, we can use that. And we will. But now what comes to the walls? I'm not quite sure if this is what we really want. We'll add a new layer. Select again all that we can find here. And we'll create here a bit darker layer. This will be sort of like an adjustment layer to adjust the colors when needed. Oopsie. There. I think that actually might work. And now what we need is we need to hide these, take this layer, and we'll pick a color that matches this here. This here. What? Why? Everything should be. Oh. Okay. My bad. Hide that. Okay, we color over these effects. So, in hopes of hiding them, because we don't need those here on those edges. They are unnecessary. Could actually do so that we take this tool here. Fill. Down. It's not just coming away, coming off. Now you have to rasterize the layer to really get rid of it, or then like lose the clipping mask. But before that I need to add it here. Wait a sec. It works here. Why doesn't it work there? Because it's a clipping mask. It's a freaking clipping mask. Yeah. It's a stupid issue. Well, what can we do? Let's do it easy way. So, duplicate this layer, hide the original one, rasterize layer style, make these back into clipping mask stuff, and take the wall copy, start coloring over so you get rid of the effects. Like so. And voila, no silly edges. Yet another way to do it is to just create some kind of border for this whole thing here. A bit like this. Oops. Here. And then just like black border, and boom, they're gone. This actually looks better in my opinion, so we'll go with this one. Okay, moving on. Next up we have the interior, and then there's the details. But the interior in this case especially, it means just the like the furniture in general, and other like different these like toilet walls and so on. So let's start picking interesting colors. So we have here this lighter background, so we want something that pops out from that. So let's have these like darker toned tables at least. Sounds like I might be needed upstairs soon. We could have the stools or the chairs. You use the same color here. Well, I think that looks fine. At least good enough. clean up a bit. It's not super precise, but let's not be messy anymore. We're like actually adding the details, so let's try to make it so that these pop out from the background nicely. So if we're, for example, using this on a virtual tabletop, you have like a better understanding of the environment and its different details. It's easier to think of these high contrast elements as something that might be blocking your way or line of sight, or maybe something that you can interact with. Right. Okay. Yes, I'm quite happy actually with this color here. And we don't have the color dynamics on now because now we want to create more even surfaces. My activity bracelet is telling me that I need to move a bit, and I can poke around. But now that we are in a nice flow, doing these details that need a bit more of our focus, we don't want to go anywhere, right? We even get the same colors here. You can imagine that we have the same chairs all around, the same stock. Here the tables are again like the same color as the round tables. Again, like a bit like a color coding thing that it's easier to notice that, okay, those chairs, those tables, they're that color and so on. Nice. One more table here. And then we want actually this color to be used for these well, not after all. I kind of like thought it a bit differently. Anyways, moving on. Bar counter can be again the same color, and now we have the details layer there on top of this interior layer. We can still we don't have to go around the glasses and all the details. We will add those in afterwards. You can just like a color over like so. Yeah, nice. And this is a part that oftentimes takes a bit time, depending on the size and complexity of all the details and all kind of stuff, but anyways, be prepared. Here, then a few tables, a few more tables and chairs. Almost done. We have the camping tables with the same color too. We just add some detail color there to make them pop out. They look a bit different from the other tables and everything. And the chairs. Alright. Actually, I'm thinking that we could add the same color for those as for those benches, and I'm thinking that we want to have like these. Almost like a majestic red, wine red. The sofas will be the same color. This also pops out nicely from the background. A bit light floor. Oops. Careful now. There we go. Table set here on this row. Clean up a bit. And here. And then here. Yeah, I want this to look the same, nice, cushy. Then yeah, that's good. All right, nice. Then next up, I want to add the boxes. The boxes are like they're gray. Are they lighter gray? Yes, they are. But do they stand out now from here? Well, somewhat. We'll add some shadows there, so pop out better. Like cardboard boxes. A big one. Might be like a box full of t-shirts, I guess. Yes. Every self-respecting bar has like a bunch of forgot the details from here altogether. Let's fix the situation. Like so. Ding dong, bong bong. It's 10, I think. 10, 12. Well, it's so easy to adjust the thickness by applying pressure more or less. Again, like some dirt here. Whatever. Okay, nice. Back to interior. Then we want to have those tables. We'll use like a quite light tone for those. Well, I'm not sure if this is the right one that was after, or it might just look funny against a certain color background. That doesn't look very good to me. Maybe we'll take this. Okay, now it looks more like a mahogany or something like that. Maybe or maybe not. Let's use the same color here and here. Again, save some time and add a bit color coding there. Okay, then let's add some barrels. Let's make them like bluish. These are darker, those are lighter. Like that. And those are something completely different. They might be even yellow. Okay. And that there is like almost black. Curtain of sorts, I think. Okay. Then these weird appliances here, they shall be very light. Let's see if I can add something like a metallic feel to them, but no. They're like this. It's their base color. It's a weird thing. Okay. Toilet. We'll add some. Go to the toilets. Starting to add some highlights here, obviously. Maybe even wider. Oh, that's very light already. Oh well. Doesn't hurt. Alright. Then those wall sections here. You might add some color to the doors once we color the door section. Okay, we have here now like a very different looking thing going on than what we had initially. Just like picking colors and random to just have like some weird variation here to like have different colors here just to make things interesting. All the colors don't always make sense necessarily, but they are just to, like I said, make things look interesting and add some character here and there. There's always a story behind everything, like all the furnitures and stuff, like why they are there. But we don't always know. We can imagine our own stories for those things. like this jukebox thing. Like, what is it? Why is it there? What does it do? All right. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Good, good, good. Let's have a look at the whole picture. Okay, we already are starting to like make sense of it. I'm still a bit worried about the difference between the outside and the walls. Need to work on that still. Maybe add some kind of like a layer of color there still to, for example, make the outside stand out more. Like this. Now we'll add a color, a layer of did I? Yes. Okay. Okay. For example, now it's much clearer that it kind of like pops out from there. And if we want to add the lighting effect, we can always. Well, we'll add it a bit afterwards. Okay. Now we could like have a look at what's going on here. Now, notice that there's this bass tones. It's not that. It's not that. It's not that. It must be one of these. Probably that one. Or then we are actually missing some color here. Seems to be the case. Okay. All right. We want to add some color over there. Not quite happy with it. Looks too light. Way too light. You can always add light, but it's very difficult to add light to something that's already light. We want to paint in the midtones at this space, so we can add more. Add more light and shadow there later on. Okay. Yeah, looks better. Looks better now. And the jukebox thing, I think it needs a bit more. Something else. Maybe this. Like that. Or even that. I think that's even better. We can like okay. Well, those could be a bit lighter because they don't really pop out that well from the background or thing. It's like lighter blue, lighter. Funny. Sometimes it's weird how colors behave. Like how they behave especially weird when you have an eraser on and not your actual color. 90% of the times it's a user mistake if something's wrong. The rest of the times it's not your fault. Well, that's not really how I think. But anyways, have fun with it. Okay. Here we need a few spots of color. There, we need a green box. Yes, a green box. And then there. What's that gonna be? That's gonna be that one. I think so. Okay. Yeah, nice. Now there's 2 more boxes. They shall be gray. Okay, done. The doors. We could do doors separately, or just like, we'll make it a doors layer, and we just use some color for, well, actually that's more like that, as is this and this and this. Well, what the heck, we'll go with that all the way. Could be a bit lighter even. That. Yeah. Okay, better now. We'll go with this. These doors that are like half a square, if we assuming that one square is about 5 feet or 1.5 meters, it feels very small, but when you think about like actual doors, they often are not more wider than 90 centimeters or like 3 feet or so. But still, yeah, it should be like 2/3 of a square. But when you think like some small like a toilet doors or that sort of stuff, they are not necessarily like a full width. Don't you agree? Okay, and then we could add on the same layer the windows. Like a light blue. It's a usual indication for a. Oh, but that's on top of it. We'll just move. Oof, sorry. Release clipping mask. Like that. And that. Yeah. Now we have windows. And we could actually pick a color from here, make it a bit lighter, and add it here on the window. What's it? Window ledges. Window give an impression of like that the wall isn't there. Yeah, looks more like windows now. Just a test. Oh, that's darker actually. Okay. Yeah. All right. Pick a color. Paint color. Yeah, that seemed a bit, a bit light. Still weird. Weird color things again. Okay. Actually, I want to add those doors like on top of that lighting thing because it always messes up things a bit. I mean that light kind of gets in the way. I'm talking about like color coding things, like if you're trying to color code the doors with a certain color, and suddenly some layer effect changes them a bit to different colors all around the map, you suddenly don't have any color coding, you just have like a mixture of different colors. Okay, now it looks better, I think. Yes, thank you. Alright. Okay. Yeah. So next we could add the details, and this is mostly just like small things, like let's say small things like these paper pieces here. Need a smaller brush for this. So, okay, that one, and those could be something else than paper, or maybe colored paper. Who knows? And that's something else. Need that too, right? There's different pieces of trash on the floor. We can just add some color to those, just so that they look like they're really something else than just something like something on the floor. Okay. There. Again, some paper. Like that. And there's something on the table. And there too. just like a bit random colors from here and there. Okay. Like that. And that. Alright. That already looks a bit different. And here we have the playing cards. Like so. And okay. There we can see there's something we can clean up while at it. Alright. Details. Okay. Empty glasses. Glasses with something in them. Just taking like so, just like picking colors to make them stand out a bit from the table, just so it seems that there's something. Not looking for any like specific colors necessarily, just to have something there. Like that. Okay. There's something. Alright, looking better. A few more of these. And here we wanted to add something for the gambling tables. Nothing too fancy, just something to make them look a bit different than just your regular table. And here we have the storage room. We'll add some color here, some color there. There's our shelves. Again, we need to go back to the door layer to take some excess color off. Then get back to the details layer. Like so. There's something again on the floor. And what might that machine be? I don't have an idea, but Maybe we add a bit like be border on more. This paper, some towels, something like that. Who knows what kind of trouble somebody has been in. I wonder why that isn't. Well, that doesn't seem to have any effect. Oh well. It's completely wrong time and place to try find anything. Okay. That looks dirt. Looks enough like dirt. Alright, we are almost there. And we want to add one more thing before moving to the highlights. Yeah, just one more thing, and that's adding some glow to some of the devices we have here. Take the opacity down, blur edges for the brush, and then let's pick like a light blue, for example. Okay, forgot that, but let's get back to it in a bit. There we add a bit like a bluish glow. And here, and here, and here. Like so, and here, and here, and here we want to have also a bit of a glow, but a different color. It's maybe like orange lights here. All right, okay. Yeah. Maybe we want here something also. Some kind of weird lights on the distilling equipment. Oh yeah, and that needs also some color. And we'll get back to the previous brush that we had, like so. Oh, and there we have a screen that we want to take into account. And back to the other brush, and we add here some details. Yeah, like that. And here we want to add something like that. Maybe some glasses or whatever these are. Okay. Yeah, let's take a look like that. Okay. And next we add some shadows. And for this map, I'm not even sure if I want to add any strong light sources. We'll go step by step, and we'll start by adding some sharp shadows. So we'll take a brush that's fairly large, like 80 pixels, and 50% hardness, so not completely soft on the edges, but not like very hard either. And for the shadow layer, we select the multiply blending mode and let's say 40% opacity. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, and for the color, we take something that's almost black, but on a bit on the bluish side. Yeah, something like that. Okay, now the brush looks still a bit small, but we could try 100. Okay, that looks better in my opinion. And now we again go a bit closer. We don't have to be that close now because it's not so precise what we are gonna do next. Okay, and now we choose where the light is coming from. I'd say that it's coming, I usually use it's coming from around 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and I'll just start applying the shadows. Like so. And now I'm even thinking that what if the shadow layer would be even more opaque, so it might be that we don't have to do too many rounds of applying shadows. Of course, if you want to have very very clean lines for the shadows, you can always apply more layers. So it seems that there's a more level of detail in. But now if you take a look at the map a bit further away, it already starts to look a bit different, like on these parts where there is shadow. Like when you compare this room to this room, this looks more detailed, even though it doesn't even have that much shadows or anything, but it already affects how it looks. And same thing here. First go by the walls, then by each like a smaller detail. Okay, next. I usually go like a one space or area at a time. Like that. And like so. There we go, just apply some shadow here and there. It always doesn't make sense, like the direction of the shadow necessarily, but I've come to conclusion that in most cases, even if the shadow wouldn't, like the shadow direction wouldn't be totally accurate, it's better in that sense that it kind of like creates more like consistent feel, which helps you to like helps you to read the image. So don't worry, if you like, you can of course like take into account different light sources and go by them, and sometimes if it's the case that the light source is very very strong or otherwise dominant in the picture, so that you want to have a feeling that it really like sheds light, or there's let's say like an opening on the ceiling, or a large fire in the middle of the map. In those cases it really makes sense and gives a lot more character to the map. But if it's just like something generic, it's not like something that you should worry about, in my opinion. At least not too much. These are just imaginary maps after all, right? Okay, but now you start to see already how these different details start popping up in totally different way than what they used to before applying these shadows. Right. And as said, your map can have different kind of shadows with sort of like different priorities. And sometimes you can play with the shadows so that you can like create more impression of like higher structures or different shapes. Like for example, when we're talking about trees, you can add certain. You can add like more longer shadows for the trees, and that gives the impression of the trees being, of course, taller, and depending on the shape of the shadow, like what kind of trees they are. So okay, that's these. Oops. And sometimes you can like when talking about like multiple light sources, you really can add like multiple shadows, like when you have two strong light sources in real life, it casts two shadows. So that's completely possible. And then also like you can play with the shadow in that sense too, that like if the edges of the shadow are a little softer, then it's usually, it tells about like a diffused light, that the light source necessarily isn't very strong. It can be just like some kind of ambient light, like reflecting from different surfaces. And the stronger the shadow, or the sharper, the stronger the light source usually is. You can make a very simple test at home. You can just take a like a lamp and see what kind of shadow that casts in comparison to the general light in the room. I mean like some kind of like a table lamp. For example. Okay, that's not maybe the best looking stage shadow, but let's not worry about that. Okay, the toilets, and then we are pretty much done with this shadow thing. And here you can see that I'm like applying shadow, but removing it from some points where, for example, where there's these screens and so on, it like kind of makes the light sources to pop out even better from the middle of the shadow. There's a sudden light source, and again we need to clean up a little door layer. Right. Okay, done. And back to the shadow layer. And I think that just to show how it goes, I'll apply one more. We could leave this here. I'll zoom out a bit. We could leave this here, and this is completely fine in my opinion. Like this is already something that you can use. But now to make the shapes pop out even better, we'll add another layer here. And we add it on top of the base light, and that's going to be called just light. And we are going to use again these like fairly sharp edges, so same brush as with the shadows, but smaller. And instead of the multiply blending mode, we are using we can use lighten or screen. Let's use screen, and around 40%. Yeah. And then for the light, we pick something. We want to have a bit like an artificial light look, so we pick a cooler color, not quite white, but something on the blue side, a bit bluish, very light color. And now we dive back into a bit zoomed in picture, and now we can start applying the light to, we can pick like a real like light source. So let's say this room has a light in the middle of it on the ceiling, so we would have the light like facing the center of the room. This might now get like a so that it overlaps the shadows, but don't worry about that. Just creates like a more different levels of light. And here we can like even add a bit more like a different how to say, different like add more shape, like be more precise with where we add the color. We can make small details stand out better, different shapes like these here. Okay. Like so. And now you can see that the sofa starts to have really like more shape. And the stair edges like that just look small stroke of lighter color there, and it looks much better. Just like a small strokes here and there to make the shapes pop out a bit, like so. Here can add like a reflection there. Here again, the stairs, just like small strokes there on the edges of the stairs. They already look better. Yes, so like this we can give better impression of directional light. But also at depth. Depth. This is one of the difficult words in English, I think. Anyways, yeah. Add some depth. Yeah. Like so. And some, yeah. There's the screen, just something a bit there. And we can imagine that there's in this kind of bar or cantina, there's always like a multiple light sources, so we can add where like these lights wherever it feels like it brings something more. Okay. Oops. Careful now. Even though it's not so precise, but let's not try to make it too messy. In Finnish we have this funny expression or metaphor called that something looks like it's done or pissed while running, and that means that something's done with like a very wow, damn, no, losing words, like in a fashion that you haven't been very careful. Okay. And the point was that I don't usually want to leave my work so that it looks like it was done while running and pissing. Okay. Yeah, now let's take a look from a bit farther away. Alright, and yes, it looks already better. And one thing that you could do now is we can again take a duplicate of this level or layer, and now we can apply a blur filter to this. It's just something that we can actually see that there's some blur. Maybe around 10. It's already quite blurry. And add some more opacity. And this is a way that we can use to like soften the light if we want. If we want to make it softer, we can use it or make it like this. And maybe like apply the other layer, and we can even do so that we can like take a adjust or make an adjustment and like adjust the hue of the light a bit if we like, but I don't see any big difference here, so let's keep it like that. Well, there was a slight adjustment, but that's fine. All right. Okay. And now we could still like continue adding whatever we would like to have there, like a texture on the floor or such stuff, but I think this is pretty nice already. One more thing I like to add is we'll take this light copy layer and we take like totally soft edge, big brush or quite big, take the opacity down, very down to like 120, maybe even 15 or so, and now we want to apply some light here outside to give the impression that it's like a casting light out of the window into the dark. There might be some kind of service light outside the door, casting a bit of light there. Very gentle strokes, so we can like build up the light there, like a layer by layer. As we have the low opacity, it like every stroke kind of like builds up the light on top of the previous stroke. And I want to blur these a bit even more. Blur tool, quite big, strength 100, and we apply the blur, so you want to get rid of the strokes. Okay, and then this much too, which we like very much, and apply it on the edges so that it kind of like it creates a feel of that like light being cast on something uneven, giving the texture surface. Let's take the opacity down a bit more. Okay. All right. Yeah. One more thing I want to add outside is I'll take like a new layer with screen and let's give it 100%, and I'm gonna take some kind of brush with some kind of spatter opaque. That's quite good probably, and I'll keep it quite big. Not quite sure how this goes, but okay, adding these. The point is like to add something that would feel a bit like rain, or even more texture. Yeah, so we took the opacity down quite a lot just to now we take the excess from the portrait. Okay, now it looks like there's something a bit more texture or something outside. Yeah, I'll need to test that a bit later, like how I could do it better, but that's enough now. Alright, let's save it. Just to be sure, so we don't lose all the hard work we've done. And yeah, I think this is it. I'm thinking that I could go back to the floor layer, or even like on top of this. Well, the stage looks quite good, but the floor layer, I'll add there a clipping mask layer, and we'll add a quick, to give it like a bit more like a dirty bar look. Take some like a dirty color here, a bit like a brownish, old dirt stains and stuff, and then we'll pick a brush. One of my favorite brushes is, where is it? Jesper Cam Photoshop watercolor brushes. These are really nice. And brush settings again, like let's put color dynamics for some extra effect, and shape dynamics we want to flip the axis and like that and that. Alright, I'm gonna make it bigger for this. Alright, it still looks small. Maybe too much. Okay, and now we add here in like a corners. Okay, this is like a very like a thick layer. Now we want to have like this. We are not gonna leave it like this. People are coming in, so they leave like stains. They move here. This is all like dirty because they pour drinks on the floor all the time behind the counter. I know, I've seen it done. Oh, not really. Like that. Here we can have like more stuff spilled on the floors. Toilets, they especially have some of this good dirt stuff. That could be a bit cleaner. They actually take care of it more. Maybe even here there's some by the door. Okay. We could make that smaller and add like a big small blotches here and there, just to add it a bit more character, make it look like this cantina or bar has been really here for ages, and they don't necessarily have that much time to take care of every little spilled drink or a blotch of blood on the floor. Yeah. Okay. And now again we take this smudge tool, give it a quick few strokes here and there, like that. Yes, now it's starting to look quite nice. And of course your bar can be much cleaner. It doesn't have to have these spots. And now that we have this layer covered here, next thing we're gonna do is now we are gonna like play a bit with the blending modes, and okay, nice. It looks better. Now we're gonna play a bit with the opacity first of all. That might be all we need to do. Like now you can see that it already looks, it's not so clean looking anymore. Let me switch this off so you can see the difference. Boom, very clean bar, a bit dirty bar. But yeah, we could just keep it like this, or then we could add a multiply effect, which changes the color a bit, makes it a bit darker for first of all, but also like maintains the original color a bit better, and maybe that's what we want. And I'd say like 30%, that's enough to give it like an impression of having the texture and dirt there, but still like not popping too much out. Alright, okay. And now like we save it again, and one final test before we add a few more small details there. One thing is that I wanna test the walls. That okay, this is like a lighter version, darker version, lighter version, darker version, and we can have like a super dark version. This is a bit like a matter of taste now, how you like it. Here's a super dark version. I must say that I even like this in a way, and I'm thinking that we could have two versions, but which one would be better for the public version? This or this? this is maybe a bit easier on the eye, has better contrast with the outside, but this on the other hand like makes the actual bar really pop out. Maybe something in between, like this. Yes, this is what we are gonna use. Alright, and here you can also see the difference with like having the texture and no texture, which is actually an interesting point now, that when we have the texture inside the bar, this also and outside the bar, this also creates a contrast that we can use in our advantage, so that the solid parts, they don't have any like special texture. And actually that's what I'm gonna use now. Sometimes it's really like it comes down to these points where you can like play with different effects and find which works the best for you in the like the tone you wish to have, and that this is also one of the like the big benefits of the PSD or the layered files that are one option in my Patreon, because I usually leave these layers there so that you can really like turn off different layers and so on, so you can really change the atmosphere a lot, just like toggling the layers on and off. So if you like to play a bit or like customize the maps for your own needs, the PSDs they are really useful. And there's a lot of well, not a lot of, but at least a few softwares online. If you don't have access to Adobe software like Photoshop, there's a GIMP and Krita online that are both free, and they can handle PSD files which are native to Photoshop. Okay, but hereby I declare this map done, and I'll be adding some extra details like text, titles, maybe labels, that sort of stuff there. But here it is. And this map was requested by one of my patrons on Patreon, or one of my patrons on Patreon, and in general, the support of my patrons, it really matters. It makes all my this work like possible, and helps me a lot. So please consider having a look. Consider having a look on my Patreon site at patreon.com/MISKA'S. Thank you for watching. I hope you get some ideas from this video. This wasn't like a tutorial exactly, but it showed like the process, how I usually work and color, and what kind of methods I use. And as said, this video was supported by my patrons on Patreon. Like a big thanks to Nathaniel Tsai and Nicholas Buddha. Thank you for your amazing support, and of course like special thanks to like and thank you to all the other of my patrons. Yeah, that's all for now. Thank you for watching. See you next time.